between Super Saiyan Blue Vegito and Merged Zamasu in both the anime and the manga was a highly regarded fight in the world of Dragon Ball Super, and of course given both Zamasu and Vegito's nature, we did see a lot from both the anime and the manga. But of course, with that being said, we revisit the retcon material that features 4 brand new pages never before seen involving both Vegito and Zamasu, alongside a sneak peek image going into Dragon Ball Super episode 115. And again, if you guys are new to this channel and of course love Dragon Ball, don't forget to go on ahead and smash that subscribe button, guys, and alongside enabling all notifications, that way you guys can be notified whenever a brand new video is posted onto the channel in connection to news, information, updates, and spoilers. Hashtag Dragon Ball Squad, as we kick things off with the first page having to showcase Gowasu the Supreme Kai, Trunks, and Mai having to stare out in the distance as we get to see a bloody Zamasu seemingly enough having to launch a barrage of energy attacks in Vegito's direction. And out in the distance, we see how Vegito is beginning to go on the move against Zamasu. Now again, having a look at these pages, Zamasu looks to be very, very injured, as according to the recent interview, everything that mainly happened in this arc was catering to fans as fan service, in which we will touch up on very shortly. But nonetheless, we get to see how the second page depicts Super Saiyan Blue Vegito effortlessly having to kick Merged Zamasu not just through one, but various different buildings in the city, pretty much showcasing Vegito's strength and essentially how strong he actually is. And judging based on these pages, Merged Zamasu doesn't seem to have a chance in the world in withstanding the mighty pressure of Vegito, as we transition into the third page with Vegito having to seemingly enough manhandle Merged Zamasu by not only pushing him out in the distance, but also rushing behind him and seemingly enough giving this man the beating of his life. Now, if anything, we already know based on the manga portrayal, Vegito is supremely ahead of Merged Zamasu, not just in terms of strength, but also speed, durability, techniques, because as according to these pages and the previous manga chapters, Zamasu has no chance whatsoever against Vegito in battle. As we transition into the fourth page, which again is in no particular order, as we get to see how Zamasu unleashes loads of energy blast on Vegito, and Vegito seemingly enough having to deflect each and every single one of Zamasu's blasts. Now again, keep in mind, this is the same Zamasu who blitzed, who speed blitzed Super Saiyan God Goku and Super Saiyan God Vegeta out of their forms in the manga. And here we have Vegito seemingly enough having to not only tank everything that Merged Zamasu was doing, but also embarrassing him on the battlefield as well. And it's terrifying to even imagine as we transition into the fifth scan, as I didn't even think there was going to be one. We get to see how Vegito simply and utterly just decimates Zamasu to every extent of the word, punching him, kicking him. Zamasu in these depictions had absolutely no chance against Vegito, and what sucks is the fact that in the manga he also defused relatively early, even before firing off the final Kamehameha. So I would have loved to see that per se, but also courtesy, thank you so much to Tato Legacy for these official scans on his Twitter, for putting these out there and showcasing to the world that, you know, essentially enough that Vegito wasn't really second fiddle to Zamasu. He was very powerful. It was only a matter of time before he actually was too strong for his own fusion, in which of course ultimately resulted in him actually burning out and defusing by the very end. Now, before we go deeper into the Akira Toriyama and Toryotaro interview, we do have a brand new Dragon Ball Super episode 115 preview image courtesy of Yonko Productions, and of course it showcases Super Saiyan Blue Goku in action. Now, in case you guys have not seen my earlier spoiler video, we do understand based on what's happening that Goku is going to be engaging and battling against the new super warrior, that having to be Kafla or Kafla, in the idea that she does something to Super Saiyan Blue Goku that a lot of you guys may actually disagree with. So if you guys have missed out my spoiler video, I will leave a link down in the description box for you guys to go on ahead and check out, as we will have an official Dragon Ball Super episode 115 spoiler discussion on the channel. So I highly encourage you guys to go on ahead and come back as soon as we have that. It pertains to the upcoming events in Super, which again, some of you guys agree with, some of you guys disagree with, but overall, Super Saiyan Blue Goku is going to be in action. against the new fusion. And with all that being said, we have an official full translation of the Toriyama/Toryotaro interview courtesy of Herms98 on Twitter, and the interview goes as follows. The two authors discuss the secrets behind the birth of the future Trunks story, with Toryotaro having to ask what was your starting point for creating the future Trunks arc, with Toriyama having to reply by saying, I think I started by going, let's change things up a bit, with Toryotaro having to follow by saying, I was shocked when I first read your original draft. I have thought of gods as being absolutely good, so having one of them turn evil raised the tension. The sense of tension flowing from the story from that point onward was incredible. I think it's tough to make things tense in a Dragon Ball story, but setting a fight in an alternative quote-unquote future where there are no Dragon Balls creates a crazy sense of tension, since obviously nobody can come back to life if they die. And before that, when the story starts, you don't even know the enemy's true identity. Zamasu's personality was also something we haven't seen before. The villains of Dragon Ball are typically absolutely evil, so there's nothing wrong with defeating them, but Zamasu was a slightly more complicated case of warped justice, with Toriyama having to reply by saying at his core Zamasu is good like Shin, though I guess you could say he was so fast that it backfired, but you know, for the future Trunks arc, you had to depict Zamasu and Trunks' inner conflict, right? If this was back when I was drawing the manga myself, then I doubt I would have done it. I mean, I'm not very good at depicting the character's psychology on the page, so this all came together because now I have to think up the story, as he laughs of course, with Toryotaro having to say, Majin Buu doesn't have any sort of psychological conflict, with Toriyama having to say, right. Frankly, I even found Cell to be a bit of a hassle. With enemies, it's easier to just have them be straight up bad guys, so that way they can just get beat up. In that sense, I think shoujo manga are really incredible, since they have to continuously depict a girl's state of mind. I don't think I could handle that, with Toryotaro having to say, it's incredibly difficult since things pile up and get more and more complicated. Even I had serious doubts about whether I had properly conveyed Zamasu's state of mind. Did I do it right? With Toriyama having to say, don't worry, it's precisely because you drew it for me that the future Trunks arc was able to be made. On my own, I doubt I would have been able to express Zamasu's fall to the dark side. As Toryotaro carries on by saying, personally, I think I just barely managed to pull it off, but it's an honor for you to say that. To change topics, I have a question about the characters of the future Trunks arc. I think the enemies this time around had a huge impact, with Goku Black in particular. How did you come up with the idea for him? With Toriyama having to reply by saying, it was something I wanted to try out just once, something like False Ultraman or a False Kamen Rider, with Toyotaro having to say, oh, what is that? With Toriyama having to say, yeah, I just wanted a false Son Goku. Toyotaro by saying Goku Black is a great name, with Toriyama having to say, well, it's like Kamen Rider Black, I guess you could say, with Toyotaro having to say, it fits amazingly well. Of course, Goku Black was voiced by Masako Nozawa-san, but she speaks so politely, I suppose that it comes from Zamasu. I hear the editorial office received fan letters from women saying how sexy that performance was, with the interviewer having to say, Toryotaro sensei, do you add in your own ideas as you turn Toriyama sensei's original draft into a finished manga? With Toryotaro having to say, that's right, ultimately things need to head towards the conclusion indicated by Toriyama sensei's original draft, but during that process, I want to give various characters things to do. Vegeta being stubborn shows off the appeal of his character and makes the story more exciting. And of course, I want to make Trunks look cool, and even Gowasu. Basically, I want each character to get the chance to shine. At times, I feel like I departed slightly from the script, but I guess you could say I'm faithful to an essence, with Toriyama having to say, I welcome it. After all, you know far more about Dragon Ball than I do, with Toyotaro having to say, well, my goal is to be the #1 fan, still, it's not all about my desire to give various characters a chance to shine. There are also times where this sort of thing is necessary to arrive at the goal that you've indicated, Toriyama-sensei. For instance, if the goal is for Goku to have a direct showdown with ZAMASU at the end, then I can't simply have Goku reach that point in peak condition. There needs to be a various twists and turns before the two can face off against each other. This time around in the Future Trunks arc, there were many such twists and turns that I created, though I was a bit uncertain about them, with Toriyama having to follow up by saying, no, it's better that way. I think it's best to let your individuality as an author shine through rather than just follow the path I set down for you. It would be unbalanced if it were all just my ideas, so it's better like this. Of course, Toriyama and Toryotaro bouncing off ideas, with Toryotaro having to say, while I tried not to take things too far afield, I certainly did get used to so many of my own ideas at points, like thinking, wouldn't it be interesting if Trunks trained in the Kaioshin realm and actually had healing powers? With Toriyama having to say, it's definitely better that way, with the interviewer having to say, Super Saiyan God Vegeta likewise only appeared in the manga version, with Toriyama having to state, I supervised that, I remember. It was fun to see Toryotaro Sensei's ideas start coming out more and more, which of course indicates that Toriyama didn't really have any sort of ideas in incorporating a Super Saiyan God Vegeta in the manga or anime, but of course Toryotaro at least was able to implement his ideas in the manga version. As the interviewer goes on to say, were there any other difficult points, with Toryotaro having to say, ZAMASU actually wasn't all that strong of a character in the original draft I received from Toriyama. Though immortal, his strength was such that 2 Super Saiyan Blues were more than another to take him on. So indicating here that 2 Super Saiyan Blues could have been enough to battle against ZAMASU, but it also went on to state it's precisely because of this that the original draft, things unfolded so that his immortality and the Potara time limit became key, and Goku and Vegeta took turns fighting him. Goku and Vegeta didn't fuse in the original draft. Their personalities made any fusion after the Majin Buu arc impossible. However, I wanted to meet the reader's expectations, and so I made a scenario to where even if they shouldn't really fuse, they would have absolutely no other choice but to fuse, with Toriyama having to say, I think it was good, with Toryotaro having to follow up by saying, that's why I thought, and though until the rough draft came together, it was the most fun and also the most stressful time, but once that got the okay, it was a fun job after that, with Toriyama having to follow by saying, most of the time I gave the rough draft for the Future Trunks arc the okay right off the bat, with Toryotaro having to say, I'm very glad to hear that. Still, I was also glad that you'd occasionally give advice. I was like, hey, he's actually reading it, with the interviewer having to say, things heating up for Toryotaro sensei when he got pointers from Toriyama. Yes, he overlooked it, with Toryotaro having to say, no, I was truly happy, in the idea sense that basically this entire interview synopsis, courtesy of Herms, indicates that of course Toriyama gave the okay and supervised everything else, while of course Toryotaro was of course still bouncing off ideas. And I guess you could say if ZAMASU wasn't considered to be the all-powerful villain or opposition for Goku and Vegeta to face, we now have a real opposition in the anime, at least for now, that having to be Jiren, considering the fact that so far in the anime they're building Jiren up as this immovable object, this force of nature that cannot be trumped, and thus far we understand based on this interview alone that Toryotaro, as of course seen previously, is going to change up the manga, as we've seen with the Zen exhibition match in the anime, and of course with the Zen exhibition match, the God of Destruction death match that we saw in the Zen exhibition match in the manga. So post your comments down below, guys. What are your overall thoughts on the 4 unseen pages of Vegito versus ZAMASU? What are your overall thoughts on the interview, in the idea that Toriyama seems to be approving a lot of Toryotaro's ideas, at least for the manga adaptation, because we don't really know as of right now how much influence Toryotaro has when it comes down to the anime. For the manga portrayal, at least we understand that ideas also bounce off of one another, so they do actually give each other advice. And what's awesome to see about this is how Toryotaro is looking at it from the fans' point of view and trying to cater to the fans and providing fan service, as of course Vegito was one of them, stated in the interview that the fact that they were forced to fuse only because ZAMASU was immortal, but not based on his strength alone. If of course ZAMASU had no immortality, it's safe to assume that 2 full-powered Super Saiyan Blues could have been enough to take on ZAMASU, as some people in the community may argue in saying that perhaps maybe ZAMASU could have been enough to defeat 2 Super Saiyan Blues on his own. Of course, we understand that Vegito is fan service, so the likelihood of Vegito actually returning in the Tournament of Power, or perhaps maybe at some given point in Dragon Ball Super, is still quite unknown. It's possible for him to return once more, only if the opportunity presented itself in the idea that both Goku and Vegeta aren't enough to defeat this opposition that stands before them. Of course, we do also have the spoilers to talk about, so post your comments down below, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys are new to this channel, don't forget to go on ahead and smash that subscribe button, guys. Turn on all notifications, that way you guys can be notified whenever a brand new video is posted onto the channel. Tune back in for more. The interview was interesting because it gives me hope. It gives me hope that the future of Dragon Ball, or at least in this case Dragon Ball Super, is in the hands of Toriyama, just in case Toriyama can't really do things or is unable to. Of course, Toriyama is following in Toriyama's footsteps, and it's amazing to see how far we've come from the Future Trunks story, as it has been a year to this month since we saw the return of Vegito, since we actually saw Vegito versus Merge ZAMASU, and now 1 year later we're actually getting 4 brand new scans alongside the continuation of the current arc and much more, so you can only imagine as to what's going to happen in 2018. Thank you all so much for watching, guys. Post your comments down below, especially if you guys have seen the spoiler video, as I do want to go on ahead and get your take on this fusion, and how different do you guys believe the actual Tournament of Power story, or the Tournament of Power battle, is going to be in comparison to the anime? Do you guys believe that significant changes are going to happen? Post your comments down below, guys. Thank you all for watching. Tune back in for more, and I'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.